Alright, hello YouTube and welcome to this extension of my Garry beginner's tutorial. So, maybe you are new to Gmod, you do know the basics, you know how to freeze, you know how to weld, you know how to use thrusters, but you want to advance a little more now. Or maybe you've watched my Garry beginner's tutorial and are being, sent on to here to learn a little more. So you can. So what I'm going to show in this video is I'm not going to go into details of how to fly and how to freeze and how to weld, because hopefully you know that by now. That's why you're watching this video. If you do not, by the way, go ahead and watch my Garry beginner tutorial. I have everything explained in that video. So in this video, I'm going to explain you how to use the axis tool, for example, the hydraulic tools. I'm going to go a little more in detail and explain to you some of the concepts of Garry's Mod that, well, took me a year to figure out. So I think we should just get started. So what I'm going to teach you first is the axis tool. So what this basically does, I already have a tutorial for this on my channel that goes a little more in depth than what I'm going to do now. But what it does basically is that it makes props turn around the point where you click it. Let me demonstrate. Say that you don't want a wheel to turn. Otherwise, you could just use the wheel tool and that'll be over. Let's say you want probably this in the wheel. Let's say you want this one to turn. By the way, what I'm using here is Smartsnap. You can go ahead and download that. It makes grids on your props. Really useful. So now I've clicked on the prop. Oops. And let's do that again. There we go. I'm going to click on the wall here. So you see the point where I clicked on the prop. It now rotates around the prop. So obviously this isn't the wheel that you can get from the wheel tool. This is a prop that I just made spin. I mean, you can't obviously use this as a wheel, but you know, you get the idea. Sometimes you don't need this thing to turn around, but only like, you know, there's a bunch of things you can use this for. For example, robots, or you just need to make some sort of hinge where things turn around or can bend from. That's where you would use this, I think. You can also use the ball socket actually, but I'll go into that. So that you can apply a force limit. So if this for some reason gets hit or something pushes it, it'll fall off. I mean, for example, if you're making a car with your own wheels, say you're using this thing as a wheel and you want it to fall off when it hits something, well, that's what you use that for. You just, when it's at 0, it can't break. As long as I put it there, this is very breakable now. So that's really it. The hinge friction, well, it's friction in where the props turn around. So let me put it very high. And see, this will actually stop itself. It can still turn, but there's a tremendous amount of friction within the point it's turning. So this sometimes is useful if you want your car to brake for itself, maybe, or you don't want it to roll forever. That's where you will use the hinge friction in this with this tool. So you can go ahead and do a lot of stuff with this. I mean, let's say I'm making making a robot knee. I can actually go into the hydraulics tool now. So let's use this thing as a foot. What can we use as a foot? This thing's good. We're gonna use no collide. I've already explained how this works in the first tutorial, but you might figure out what it does by now. It puts props. Okay, so I'm gonna weld these two together. Let's find the watch again. Here we go. Now I want to use my axis tool to make this knee for my robot leg bendable, so it will be, you know, kind of a suspension, I guess. So let's go ahead and put that up to 200. That is already good, and I'm gonna put it there and turn it around so that this will make some sense. Okay, there we go. Now hydraulic. So you guys see that's a leg, right? Okay, cool. Hydraulic. Before I'm going to go into what I'm going to use it for this leg, this just the ideas I'm giving you guys for how to use it and just explain how it works. Hydraulic, well, just like real life hydraulics, what it does is push props away from each other, well, pretty steady. And there's a couple of options here. We see the distance, speed. I guess that makes sense for you. Fixed is probably what I'm going to talk a little bit about. there's a bunch of reasons why you would use this. And now I'm going to make an example where I'm going to use it when it's fixed and the robot legs, I'm going to use it not fixed. I'm going to explain to you why. Because when it's fixed, it will work like a hydraulic in real life. It will push the proper way, like steady and aligned. Let me demonstrate here. So I've activated on numpad 1. Yeah, that's good. I'm gonna right click, which will make it completely go straight. So now you see I cannot force it to out of its place now. I'm gonna press 1. It should push it away. Yeah, there we go. So that pushes it away 100 units. When it's not fixed, this will work as an expandable rope. So you see now it's kind of like an elastic, but it will still be able to expand in the direction it's pointing, as you see. So when it's fixed, that's useful. For example, elevators. You can make it go up, and then you can stand on it, and you'll get to the second floor. But for my robot leg here, and we're obviously gonna have some weight on it, and if you just welded something up there, it will just totally collapse. So I'm gonna make something to support it. I'm gonna use the hydraulic, and I'm not gonna check the fixed. But not gonna use the hydraulic for pushing. It's just gonna make this steady, actually. So I'm gonna go ahead and put them. I'm gonna put a couple of them to reinforce it a little bit. So there we go. So now you see it'll be pushed back. So the hydraulic always want to go back in place. So that will push it back. So let's go ahead and duplicate this. Yeah, by the way, the duplicator, just right click on the prop and everything that's connected will be duplicated. And I've actually made this before, and I think it's a great kind of robot to build. I'm gonna use this as my driver's seat. And by now you can actually use more axes for this, but I'm not gonna do that because that's just gonna cause a whole lot of trouble. And this is gonna make the video too long if I'm trying to make this robot work perfectly. That's definitely not my intention. It's just to prove a point. See, that worked horribly, but that's probably because of my horrible design of my legs I'm using. But I hope you get. Well, I could actually just see, to fix this problem, I could probably put the van more in the front like that, so the weight won't go back. We could try that. That's the last thing I'm gonna do to this robot now. Yeah, see, that works fairly. I mean, it's gonna tilt as soon as I try. But you see the idea that now I actually have a leg that probably will move forward, and the other one and tilt over. But you get the idea. That's how you can use the hydraulic, for example. And that's a great example of how hydraulics can be used to keep things in place, such as robots' legs. Whew, okay. So, let me explain to you another concept that I haven't found too useful yet. But I guess it can be used for, like, doors that let's say hatches or something that you want to, let's say you're making a tank, or I want to make some sort of roof on that one that can open. And I want this thing to go up like that, but still being attached to the prop. That's where I would use the ball socket. And I always use the advanced, guys. Don't bother using the ball socket, the normal one, because it's kind of like the axis and it's kind of weird. But what this does is that when you click on one point and click on another point on the two props, it will kind of link this and make a hinge here. And I will do it in the other side to make it stable. See, now it will move like there was a hinge there, you see? And this really gives you a lot of possibilities in terms of doors that is attached to each other and you don't want to use the axis. You can make this turn around another prop like that. Of course, you could use the axis to do the same. You just put it there and there, but it will be on the sides and it'll be weird. But you could. So, but I haven't really found any use for this, but I'm sure y'all can find some use for it. And I guess you can combine that. I mean, you can just find loads of ways to deal with this. To use it. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to the next thing. I hope you guys can follow along. Okay, so for people that want to, let's say you have made a car, and you want it to be destructible. Not in terms that you have to use the wood, because you can actually make it destructible using props that can't break. But as a whole, the car can break. So let's just quickly put a car together like that. So this is a very basic car, and I'm going to weld a bunch of stuff onto it. But as you know, the weld tool makes stuff sit together. It doesn't allow them to go apart. Well, it actually does. And that's what I'm going to show you now. And that is the force limit again. Just as I explained to you with the axis. You can also put a force limit on the welder. So the idea with the force limit is that you can set a number in which the weld will disappear. So let's say that I have welded this at 1000. There we go. See, now it is welded. You see? It's still attached. But if I, let's say, dropped it, you see, it actually already broke. So the force limit weren't really good on my side. But that's the idea. And you can put it to a higher limit. So that it will take a lot more damage. So you can, for example, just crash into it with something else, and it will actually break apart. But you can, you know, move. You can fizz around. You can do whatever you want with it. You know, try it yourself. I'm not really good at making this work, but that's how it works, and that's basically what every time you see a force limit, that's what it will do. Okay, moving on. So when you're playing Garry's Mod, I highly recommend you go download some stuff. I have a bunch of videos that shows you what you need. It's called Garry's Mod Top 10 Tool Show. You can go ahead and check that out. I'll have a link in the description for that. But the weight tool you really need at, because, dear, sometimes, see, for example, last time when I built this, you see, now it has a weight of 10,000 units. Say I put this down to 5,000, I'll have reduced it, and now it won't tilt over that easily. Well, it still will, but you see, before I had a problem with it being very, very heavy, which is not the case here. So, guys, that is some basics, a little more advanced. Yeah. So I think I hope you guys can use some of all my very complicated explanations. But if there is anything you need, please put a comment. And, well, I will see you in the next video.